Waiting is often misunderstood as absence, as though silence signals abandonment and stillness signals loss. When prayers seem to linger without visible response and circumstances hold their position, the heart can quietly assume it has been overlooked. Yet, in the deeper spiritual reality, waiting carries weight and meaning. When Allah places a servant in a season of sabr, it is not a pause without intention or a delay without wisdom. It is a deliberate act of divine care, where the inner state is refined with precision before the outer situation is allowed to shift. What looks motionless on the surface is frequently a powerful inner reordering taking place. The heart is being steadied, perception is being reshaped, and trust is being formed, even while the mind struggles to understand what is unfolding. Sabr is often mistaken for silence, endurance, or simply waiting for pain to pass. Many assume it means doing nothing while hardship continues, as if patience is a form of weakness or emotional shutdown. In truth, sabr is one of the most active inner states a human being can experience. It is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of awareness while struggle exists. When Allah teaches sabr, He is not asking the servant to become numb or indifferent. He is training the heart to remain anchored even when circumstances are unstable. Inner work begins when external control ends. When answers do not come quickly and solutions are out of reach, the heart is forced inward. This is where sabr operates. The heart learns to stand without leaning on immediate reassurance. It learns to stay upright without constant signs, confirmations, or emotional relief. This is difficult because the heart naturally seeks certainty. Sabr teaches the heart how to live without certainty while remaining connected to Allah. Through sabr, the heart learns how to hold uncertainty without panic. Instead of collapsing into fear or rushing toward any escape, the heart slowly develops the ability to remain present. This presence is not passive. It is attentive, grounded, and conscious. The servant begins to notice internal reactions, hidden attachments, and emotional habits that were previously masked by movement and distraction. Sabr exposes these layers gently but firmly. Another essential aspect of sabr is learning to trust without immediate results. Modern thinking often ties trust to outcomes. If something works, trust increases. If it delays, trust weakens. Sabr reverses this pattern. It teaches trust that exists before outcomes, not after them. The heart begins to rely on Allah's wisdom rather than visible progress. This reliance is not blind belief, but a growing inner confidence that Allah's timing carries purpose, even when the purpose is not yet visible. This inner discipline builds depth. Depth comes from staying present with reality instead of escaping it. A heart that practices sabr becomes less reactive and more stable. It does not swing violently between hope and despair based on circumstances. Instead, it develops a quiet consistency. This stability does not mean the heart feels nothing. It means feelings no longer control direction. Emotions are acknowledged without being allowed to dominate decisions or faith. Sabr also builds sincerity. When ease is removed, intentions are revealed. The servant begins to see whether worship, dua, and trust were tied to comfort or rooted in truth. Through sabr, the heart learns to turn toward Allah without conditions. This unconditional turning is one of the highest forms of sincerity because it remains intact whether life is gentle or heavy. Sabr strengthens the servant in ways comfort never could. Comfort often creates dependence on external stability. Sabr creates inner resilience. A heart trained through sabr can remain steady during loss, delay, and uncertainty because it has learned how to stand without constant support. This strength is quiet, unseen, and deeply transformative. It does not announce itself, but it shapes every response, every decision, and every step forward. Sabr is not waiting for life to improve. It is the work Allah does within the heart, so that when life changes, the heart is ready to meet it with clarity, balance, and trust. Waiting is one of the most powerful tools Allah uses to grow the heart, because it removes the illusion of control. When outcomes are delayed and answers do not arrive as expected, the heart is no longer able to rely on results to feel secure. This moment is uncomfortable, yet it is deeply transformative. Allah allows waiting not to frustrate the servant, but to expose where the heart has placed its trust. When relief does not come quickly, hidden attachments begin to surface. The heart starts to notice how strongly it was tied to certain people, specific timelines, or particular outcomes. Expectations that once felt normal are suddenly questioned. This exposure is not meant to shame the heart, but to make it aware. Awareness is the first step toward purification. Without waiting, these attachments would remain hidden beneath activity and distraction. Waiting also reveals how the heart reacts when certainty is removed. Some hearts rush toward alternatives, some fall into despair, and others attempt to force outcomes. Through this struggle, Allah shows the servant how deeply they depend on what they can see rather than on who He is. The delay becomes a mirror, reflecting the heart's true source of comfort and fear. As waiting continues, something subtle begins to shift. The heart gradually learns that people are limited, plans are fragile, and imagined solutions often fall short. This realization is not meant to create hopelessness, but humility. The servant begins to understand that peace cannot be anchored in what is temporary. Slowly, reliance moves away from external support and toward divine wisdom, which is not bound by time or circumstance. Waiting also teaches the heart to release rigid expectations. When outcomes are postponed, the heart learns that its vision is narrow compared to Allah's knowledge. What seemed essential may lose importance, and what seemed distant may draw closer. Through this process, the heart becomes more flexible, less demanding, and more open to what Allah chooses rather than what it insists upon. In allowing waiting, Allah teaches the servant how to trust beyond visibility. Reliance becomes less about managing life and more about surrendering to divine timing. The heart learns that Allah's wisdom operates even when there are no signs, and that guidance is present even in silence. This deeper dependence creates a foundation that remains steady long after the waiting ends. Allah allows waiting because it reshapes the heart's center of reliance. When the heart no longer clings to outcomes, timelines, or imagined control, it becomes anchored in something far more stable. It becomes anchored in trust in Allah alone, which is the strongest and safest place a heart can rest. Waiting has a unique ability to refine intention because it slows the heart down enough to examine itself honestly. When something is delayed, the heart can no longer rely on momentum or emotional urgency. Instead, it is brought face to face with its own desires. The servant begins to reflect on why they want what they are asking for and what lies beneath that desire. This questioning is not meant to weaken faith, but to clarify it. In the beginning, many requests are shaped by urgency. The heart wants relief, answers, or change as quickly as possible because discomfort feels unbearable. Waiting interrupts this urgency. As time passes, The heart is forced to sit with its intention rather than push it forward. This pause creates space for awareness. The servant starts to recognize whether the desire is rooted in genuine need, fear of loss, attachment to control, or the wish to be validated. Through waiting, ego-driven expectations slowly lose their strength. When a request is not fulfilled immediately, the heart learns that wanting something does not mean it is necessary or beneficial in its current form. This realization softens the heart. It becomes less demanding and more reflective. The servant begins to ask not only for relief, but for understanding, guidance, and protection from harm they may not yet see. Duha also changes during this process. What may have begun as repeated pleading gradually transforms into a quieter conversation. The language of duha shifts from insistence to openness. Instead of focusing solely on outcomes, the heart begins to focus on closeness to Allah. The servant still asks, but now with humility rather than pressure, and with trust rather than desperation. Waiting teaches the heart that sincerity is not measured by how strongly one wants something, but by how willingly one accepts Allah's wisdom regarding it. This acceptance does not mean giving up desire, it means placing desire within divine boundaries. The servant learns to say, inwardly, that what Allah chooses carries greater wisdom than what the heart demands. This purification of intention leads to spiritual maturity. The heart stops negotiating with Allah and starts aligning with His will. Relief is no longer seen as proof of being heard, nor is delay seen as rejection. Instead, the servant understands that every response from Allah, whether immediate or postponed, carries guidance. This understanding deepens faith and strengthens the bond between the heart and its creator. Waiting does not weaken intention, it purifies it. It removes urgency, ego, and impatience, replacing them with sincerity, humility, and trust. This refined intention becomes the foundation for a more stable, conscious, and spiritually grounded relationship with Allah. Every gift that Allah gives carries a weight along with its beauty. Blessings are not only meant to be enjoyed, they are meant to be carried with responsibility, gratitude, and awareness. For this reason, every blessing requires space within the heart to receive it properly. If something arrives before the heart is ready, it can overwhelm rather than heal, distract rather than uplift, or create pride instead of gratitude. When relief comes too quickly, the heart may assume it was deserved rather than gifted. Comfort can easily turn into entitlement, and ease can slowly weaken remembrance. Sabr prevents this by slowing the arrival until the heart has been prepared. During waiting, the heart learns humility, patience, and dependence on Allah rather than on circumstances. These qualities create the inner capacity needed to receive without losing balance. Sabr expands the heart in a gradual and gentle way. Each moment of patience stretches the heart's ability to remain calm, grateful, and present. Just as the body grows stronger through controlled resistance, the heart grows wider through patience. Over time, the servant develops the ability to hold ease without becoming careless, and to experience joy without forgetting its source. Waiting also teaches the heart how to remain grounded during change. When sabr is practiced, the heart becomes less reactive to sudden shifts. It does not rush into celebration or fall into fear, because it has learned steadiness through restraint. This steadiness ensures that when blessings arrive, they enhance faith instead of weakening it. Allah's delays are never signs of rejection. They are acts of preparation. By allowing Sabr to shape the heart, Allah ensures that what is given will not harm the servant spiritually. The heart becomes capable of holding relief while maintaining humility, holding success while preserving remembrance, and holding comfort without losing awareness of Allah. Through Sabr, the servant learns that readiness matters more than speed. What is received at the right time brings peace, while what is received too early may bring confusion. Allah delays not to deny, but to protect the heart from imbalance. When the heart is fully prepared, the blessing arrives in a way that strengthens faith rather than testing it beyond its limits. There are moments when life appears to pause completely. Plans do not advance, doors remain closed, and efforts seem to lead nowhere. From the outside, this feels like stagnation, as if time itself has slowed or progress has been denied. Yet, in the deeper spiritual reality, these moments are rarely accidental. What feels motionless is often part of a precise divine order unfolding beyond what the eye can see. Allah does not rush outcomes because He does not only guide events, He guides hearts. Before external circumstances are allowed to change, inner states must be aligned. During periods where nothing seems to move, the heart is quietly being repositioned. Thoughts are being refined, attachments are being loosened, and awareness is being redirected. This internal adjustment is necessary so that future movement does not lead to harm, confusion, or regret. Stagnation often removes the distractions that keep the heart busy. When progress slows, the heart is no longer consumed by chasing the next step. This creates space for reflection, self-awareness, and spiritual clarity. The servant begins to notice what has been driving their actions and whether their direction was truly aligned with peace. These realizations rarely occur during times of rapid movement. Allah also uses stillness to protect the servant. Movement without alignment can lead to decisions made from impatience or fear. By allowing a pause, Allah prevents the servant from stepping into paths that appear attractive but carry long-term consequences. The heart may not understand this protection immediately, but clarity often comes later when the wisdom behind the delay becomes evident. During this unseen alignment, the heart learns to slow down and listen. It becomes less focused on forcing outcomes and more open to receiving guidance. This shift ensures that when movement finally begins, it is purposeful rather than reactive. Actions taken from this place carry calm, confidence, and trust, instead of urgency and doubt. What feels like stagnation is not absence of care, it is evidence of careful arrangement. Allah prepares the inner world first, so that when doors open, the servant walks through them with stability and awareness. This alignment transforms future progress into something that brings peace rather than confusion, and direction rather than regret. There comes a moment when Sabr is no longer something the heart struggles to maintain. What once felt heavy and demanding slowly transforms into a natural state of acceptance. At this stage, patience is no longer forced. It becomes quiet trust. The heart stops fighting time and stops measuring progress through comparison or expectation. Instead, it settles into the understanding that Allah's plan is unfolding with intention, even if the details remain unseen. This transition happens gradually. At first, Sabr requires effort because the heart resists uncertainty. It wants reassurance, signs, and guarantees. Over time, as waiting continues, the heart begins to release its constant need for control. The urgency softens. The anxiety around timelines fades. The servant realizes that watching the clock does not bring relief. and comparison does not bring clarity. This realization allows trust to grow naturally. When Sabr turns into trust, the heart understands that Allah's timing is not a judgment of worth. Delay is no longer interpreted as rejection or punishment. Instead, it is recognized as an expression of divine care. The servant begins to see that if Allah is delaying something, He is also protecting, guiding, and preparing. This understanding changes the emotional response to waiting. Frustration is replaced by calm, and restlessness gives way to steadiness. Peace does not depend on explanations. The heart does not need to know how or when things will unfold to remain at ease. There is confidence without visible proof, and reassurance without immediate outcomes. This form of trust is deep because it is not built on circumstances, but on a relationship with Allah. The servant feels held even when answers are absent. This level of reliance frees the heart from constant emotional swings. It no longer rises with hope and falls with disappointment. Instead, it maintains balance. The heart learns that Allah's wisdom operates beyond human understanding, and that surrender does not mean weakness. It means recognizing that divine knowledge surpasses personal desire. When Sabr becomes trust, the waiting itself no longer feels like a burden. It becomes a space of connection, reflection, and quiet strength. The servant moves forward in life with greater confidence, not because everything is clear, but because reliance on Allah has become firm. This is one of the highest forms of faith, where calm exists without explanation and certainty exists without proof. The most profound change that occurs during waiting is often unnoticed at first, because it does not happen outside of you. The situation may look the same, the circumstances may remain unchanged, but the heart is no longer what it once was. Through Sabr, the heart undergoes a quiet transformation that reshapes how it experiences life itself. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable, and what once caused unrest begins to lose its power. As waiting continues, the heart becomes more grounded. It learns how to stay present instead of constantly projecting into the future or replaying the past. This grounding brings stability. The heart no longer reacts immediately to every thought, emotion, or external trigger. Instead, it pauses, observes, and responds with greater awareness. This shift alone changes how difficulties are experienced. Through Sabr, the heart also learns where peace truly comes from. It begins to understand that peace is not tied to arrival, resolution, or achievement. Peace grows from connection with Allah. When this connection strengthens, the heart is able to remain calm even when outcomes are uncertain. The servant realizes that closeness to Allah provides a sense of security that circumstances cannot offer. This transformation continues long after the waiting ends. Once the heart has learned patience, trust, and presence, these qualities remain. Future trials are approached differently. Instead of panic or despair, there is reflection and reliance. The servant responds with steadiness rather than urgency, and with faith rather than fear. Waiting teaches the heart resilience. It shows the servant that they can endure uncertainty without losing themselves. This knowledge builds confidence in Allah and in the heart's ability to remain connected during hardship. Each experience of waiting strengthens this inner foundation, making future challenges feel less threatening. Waiting reshapes the servant more than it reshapes the situation. The heart becomes calmer, wiser, and more deeply anchored in faith. This is the lasting gift of Sabr. Even when circumstances change, the heart carries forward the lessons it learned, responding to every future trial with greater balance, trust, and inner peace. One day, the waiting will soften and the questions will quiet. What you asked for may arrive, or it may be replaced by something more fitting, but the true outcome will already be within you. The heart that learned Sabr will no longer fear delay or silence, because it has discovered where real security lives. Waiting was never empty time. It was the space where trust was built, where dependence was redirected, and where the soul learned to rest in Allah rather than in outcomes. When you look back, you will see that nothing was paused without purpose. Allah was teaching your heart how to stand, how to trust, and how to remain at peace no matter what comes next.